Now back to the show. This is AM 650's The Law Show.
Welcome back to the program. Our guests in studio from Lindsay Kenny LLP, Angela Thiel and Christine Eilers, lawyers both with the Vancouver offices. Lindsay Kenny has offices in both downtown Vancouver and in Langley, and they're online at lklaw.ca. We're talking family law with our guests, and the whole matter of blended families, and some very interesting information flowing on the program today. I'm really grateful for the two of you. The whole matter of relocation, Christine, probably the thorniest, prickliest area of family law when it comes to court cases and big fights, and that's not likely to change anytime soon.
No, it's almost impossible to settle those cases. The stakes are high.
Exactly. So let's talk about something that usually or stands at least some potential for a happier ending. Let's talk a little bit about adoptions, because in the course of blending families, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes the parents will seek to adopt the children of the new blended family, of the spouse, her children. I want to adopt her children and make them mine, and all of that stuff. How does that usually play out?
It's actually, that's the most positive type of file that I've had.
I had a feeling it might be.
And I think Christine has had one as well. Under the statute, a step-parent adoption is treated fairly similarly to a normal adoption, but you need to get two things. You need to get the consent of the natural father, or for the court to decide that if they withhold consent, it would still be in the child's best interest to allow the adoption. And if the child's over 12, you have to have written consent of the child.
I was just going to ask you that. Does anybody ever get to ask the kid, how do you feel about this?
And where it comes up most often, I've found, or at least the file I had, the parents had gone on to have other children of their own. And it was really nice because the natural father recognized, he was a good dad. He paid child support, but he was someone who I think was maybe in the Air Force. Anyway, he traveled a lot, so he hadn't seen a lot of his own child. Okay. And he recognized the benefit to the child of allowing this adoption to go ahead. It also, he also no longer had to pay child support for that child.
Oh, is that an automatic with the adoption?
That's an automatic.
Interesting.
And the other automatic is that child's legal rights to an inheritance from the natural father, and he now has a legal right to an inheritance from who has now become his
his adopted father. I didn't know that either. Interesting.
And then you actually get a new birth certificate, which would suggest that no one looking at that birth certificate would know that you were not born to the fellow who just adopted you.
And the court files are all sealed as well, so it's confidential.
Yeah, and it was a really nice feeling, particularly when I was sitting, because I had to by myself without mom or dad or stepdad being around. I had to meet with the little guy, not so little at 12, and explain to him what he had to do and what he had to sign, and that he didn't have to say yes. And he was just so happy, to being because he'd seen the difference with his younger brothers, who were the natural children of both his mom and his stepdad, and he was just so happy to see this happening.
To become recognized as a member of the new unit. Huh?
Exactly.
He had a place with his name on it.
Exactly. And these were just, they were all such nice people. And I was saying to you, at the end of the file, I gave the family a sort of a gift. I said, went out, my kids are about the same age, went out and bought some, videos and games that I thought, that were family type board games and family videos. And I remember because my kids came along and they were helping me pick these things because they knew,
what kids would like. Sure.
And the family was really appreciative, and it was just one of the nicest files I've ever done.
Interesting. Now, Christine,
Yep.
do they all have happy endings, or do egos get in the way sometimes? If someone wants to adopt a child of mine who's now in a relationship with my ex and some guy, and I'm not real happy about that's my child.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could see people get their backs up.
Well, quite frankly, it doesn't come up very often.
Really?
It's very rare that a step-parent will adopt their stepchild.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I think
Okay.
it's more in situations where the biological parent is really out of the picture.
Okay.
You know, either there's some issues, they're unable to parent their child, or they're just, for whatever reason, have been absent. So that's where it seems to come up more often. And in those situations, the parent would normally either be willing to consent or would be incapable of consenting, essentially, or the court might order that it was going to occur regardless of their consent. So it doesn't come up very often, and when it does, it is usually a situation where it's really quite clearly the right thing to happen. So
Only got a minute
Yeah.
or so left, and we've talked a lot with you two in the past, particularly because you favor this a lot, this whole matter of mediation, of third-party intervention, the short of going to court stuff. Can these family law details, the matter of inheritances or adoption or relocation or some of the real sticky items, do they always end up in court, or are there still agents of the court capable in some cases of facilitating these arrangements short of a fight in front of a judge?
I haven't seen a relocation case mediated because, as we talked about, they're high
It's so
stakes.
thorny. Right, right.
But I think that everybody, and I think every lawyer should say, I think you should give a try to mediation in every dispute. You know, even if I don't think it's going to settle on mediation, I do encourage people to try to mediate,
Right.
try to use the parenting coordinators, because the mediators, I mean, you've got mediators that are lawyers, but you also have mediators that are psychologists and
Sure.
counselors that
Right.
know a lot about stages of children and, you know, best practices of parenting. I have opinions about how to parent children, but I'm not an expert.
Right, right.
I just go, well, I think I've done an okay job with mine, so maybe I know something. But there, you know, as you know, there's many styles of parenting, and I'm not going to tell another parent how to parent unless you know, they're asking for my advice in that. And I always say, look, I'm a lawyer. I'm giving you, this isn't legal advice I'm giving you.
But this is one of the least likely areas that mediation and those sorts of attempts might work, Christine?
yeah, I mean, I think what we were talking about earlier with different parenting styles and things like that, that can be dealt with in mediation maybe to some extent by encouraging parents to be tolerant of their spouses or their former spouse's new partner and new parenting styles and new traditions and things like that that come up in blended families. So it's more learning tolerance and communication and things like that.
All right. LKlaw.ca is the website for Lindsay Kenny in Vancouver and, of course, in Langley as well. Angela Thiel and Christine Eilers, that is it for our program today. And I know that you have to move on and do other things. You have clients to work with. Imagine. But it's been an absolute joy working with both of you on The Law Show, and I hope to have the opportunity again sometime
You too,
down the
Sterling.
road.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Take
you,
good
Sterling.
care.
Thanks.
Take
See
care.
you next Sunday on The Law Show. The Redhead is next.